So Super Tuesday has finally come. Super Tuesday is just now ending. If you're on the East Coast like myself, it's about 1 a.m. here. And obviously, we're still waiting on the results of the Alaska Republican caucus, but that's really not going to factor into my decision of the winners and losers of on each side, on the Republican and the Democratic side. So I'm going to start off by saying that I am going to be supplementing this commentary with some Call of Duty Black Ops 3 gameplay footage. So I apologize if you're not really into video games, but my webcam is not really working right now. I have to take my computer in to get it checked out. So gameplay footage is the best thing that I have to supplement it with. So I hope that my commentary is engaging and informative to you so that the gameplay really doesn't take away from the total experience. So I'm going to start off by going on the Republican side. So for the past couple weeks, obviously, people have been trying to bash Donald Trump. Marco Rubio's gotten a lot more aggressive. Ted Cruz is going at Donald Trump. Pretty much all the establishment candidates trying to wake American voters up. To no avail. Donald Trump has still been steamrolling everyone in the polls and national polls, and that narrative really did not change tonight, even in spite of Donald Trump picking up endorsements and refusing to disavow endorsements from the KKK as well as a white supremacist or white nationalist leader, over the weekend. And that, like I said, did not affect him. He still ended up winning 8 states tonight. He won Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Vermont, Arkansas again, Virginia, and most likely he'll win Alaska. So he's picked up a pretty solid performance tonight, with Ted Cruz picking up a win in Texas, his home state. Pretty much we knew that he had to win that if he had any hope of getting the nomination. And Ted Cruz picking up a victory in Oklahoma, which was a little bit unforeseen to me, but I guess in the long run it really doesn't matter. Still, Donald Trump dominated tonight. Now, when I was originally going to make this video about an hour and a half ago, Marco Rubio had not won a state, and I was going to come on here and say that Marco Rubio should essentially consider packing his bags and dropping out the race. But Marco Rubio was able to pick up a victory in the Minnesota Republican caucuses today. His campaign had been feeling like they would do well going into the Minnesota caucuses all week, so it was definitely a pretty decent showing for him. So yeah, in that aspect, Marco Rubio had a pretty good showing in Minnesota, but he still has to show that he can get wins in other states, because at this point, I mean, Donald Trump has got 11 victories to Ted Cruz's 3 victories to Marco Rubio's 1. So they've got to really start catching up to Donald Trump in terms of gaining victories and gaining delegates. Now, delegates are awarded on proportion, so although Marco Rubio isn't coming in first in a lot of these states, in Arkansas he came in second, and a couple other states he came in second or third, so he's still getting delegates awarded proportionally based on that. But still, if you want to be a nominee, the Republican nominee for president, you're going to have to start picking up some victories in these crucial states. John Kasich actually was the surprise of the night for me on both sides, because he picked up a second place finish in Vermont. I know Vermont is normally a Democratic state, especially with Bernie Sanders being from there, and the voter turnout really wasn't that high on the Republican side, but still was pretty impressive, because John Kasich is somebody that a lot of people have been calling for to potentially drop out of the race, so that his supporters, as well, and Ben Carson's another example of that, their supporters would go towards a Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, so the establishment could have a strong, solid candidate going up against Donald Trump. That has not happened yet, and many people feel that that could be the reason why Donald Trump is still winning so badly. I honestly disagree with that, because even if you add up those other percentages, Donald Trump would still be crushing people right now. So, in terms of my winner on the Republican side, it's definitely Donald Trump. I think he had an excellent showing tonight. And mathematically, it's not over, but mathematically it looks very difficult and very unlikely that Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio would be able to catch up. The Rubio campaign feels like they could potentially win his home state of Florida. Once again, if he doesn't win that, probably I can't see a path to the nomination for Marco Rubio. They also feel like they can win states like Ohio, Michigan, or have good showings in those states. Heading over to the Democratic side, obviously Hillary Clinton was coming off a pretty big win in South Carolina. The black vote was overwhelmingly in her favor, and that did not change tonight. She dominated the South. She dominated the black vote. Obviously, she has ties to Arkansas, being the former first lady of the state when her husband was the governor there. So she won that one as could be expected pretty handily, as well as Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, and a pretty solid win in Massachusetts. Bernie Sanders obviously won his home state of Vermont, as well as winning Colorado, Oklahoma, and Minnesota. So the Sanders campaign had a pretty good showing tonight, and like you have on the Republican side, remember these delegates are awarded on a proportional basis, depending on where you finish. So we're still waiting on the to get 100% in each state for the voting to finish completely being added up. So we aren't completely sure of the delegates right now, but right now it's looking like Hillary Clinton is going to pick up about 296 delegates off of tonight to Bernie Sanders's about 162, and that would put Hillary Clinton, not counting super delegates, because I know a lot of Bernie supporters will get upset and they're like, oh, but those super delegates can switch before the convention. They can switch their vote because they're not pledged. While that's true, if that candidate is still winning and has good momentum, they really have no need to do that and are unlikely to do that. So without the super delegates, the count is at 496 544 delegates for Hillary Clinton, with those 453 super delegates bringing that to about 990 some delegates. And Bernie Sanders is going to have about 349 after tonight, and he has, I believe, 22 super delegates. So obviously, if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, don't get too caught up in those numbers, because of the fact that it is a very long race, and your candidate has raised a tremendous amount of money in the last couple weeks. Excuse me. I believe in the month of February alone, he's raised $40 million. So if you're a Sanders supporter, he's going to take this to the convention. He's got no reason not to. He feels like he can compete in states like Michigan, Ohio, in that Midwest industrial area. So I think it'll be a very interesting race. We've got a race on our hands on this Democratic side, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Like, conversely, if you're a Hillary Clinton supporter like myself, it's far from over. Bernie Sanders has the money, he has the momentum, he has that youth vote to try to compete and make this an extremely close race. But one thing that Bernie Sanders is going to have to find a way to do, and it showed tonight, it showed last week in South Carolina, he's going to have to try to find a way to break through the black voters and try to win over some black votes. Now, Bernie Sanders has gotten the endorsement of people like Killer Mike, who, honestly, I don't even know who that is, but I guess he's a rapper or something, and Spike Lee, as well as a couple other prominent African-American, celebrities, so to speak. And Hillary Clinton, obviously, having her own cult following of black votes, it seems like, anyway, in the South. So Bernie Sanders is going to have to try to find a way to break through, pick up some black votes. Hillary Clinton, I think, has been doing an excellent job of trying to hug so closely to Barack Obama that it's like if Bernie Sanders criticizes her, he criticizes Obama. And by criticizing Obama, obviously with him being the first black president, he's held in a very high regard by the majority of the black Democratic populace. So Bernie Sanders is going to have to try to find a way to walk that tightrope, perhaps bring up his civil rights history compared to Hillary Clinton's civil rights history with TPP, NAFTA, the crime bill, all of that stuff. But conversely, Hillary Clinton could argue that Bernie Sanders voted for that same crime bill. So there's definitely a double-bladed sword that he's going to have to try to deal with in terms of gaining that black vote. So that does conclude my Democratic and Republican breakdown of the Super Tuesday results, the winners and losers. In recap, I've got Hillary Clinton as being the winner on the Democratic side. I've got Donald Trump winning on the Republican side. And my surprise of the evening was John Kasich's finish in Vermont. So once again, I hope that you found this video to be informative. And actually, one last thing before I get off this. If you see a national poll that's saying Bernie Sanders polls better nationally in a general election against Donald Trump or anyone compared to Hillary Clinton, please don't put too much stake in those, because the general election is not until November, and those polls change so much. The way they're constructed is it has a very big margin of error. Like, I just read one the other day that had John Kasich beating Hillary Clinton by 11%. So just don't put too much stock in those. No matter who you're supporting, it's far from over, and it's going to be a long, exciting political season. So once again, thanks for checking out my video. I hope to see you guys soon on my next video.